We're going to go live in 5 minutes. Huh? We're going to go live in 5 minutes. Can you hear me? Can you hear me now? You about? I kind of have to stand near you because I got.
No, that's okay. You can be like. Okay, we're going to do the What is United Israel.
Okay.
Just
All right,
All right.
I'll add that.
Okay. Ad lib it.
I'm not doing this.
David, do you have audio? All right, we're good.
Okay, the reason we're standing so close to David is the mic is right here. So, Patty, come here. We're not getting here. Can I have your hands? No, we're not getting here. Are you officiating?
Yes, I've officiated a
So-
wedding this year. I did.
So, people, we're working on what I call the elevator speech for what is United Israel World Union. So, if you wear the T-shirt or you tell somebody, it's like, well, what is United Israel World Union? So you can hem and haw and stutter, and you don't have to do this, but I'm going to suggest to you something you can say. So Patty is going to play the role. I don't have where's my T-shirt? Oh, there was some.
I'll be the dumb blonde.
But I'll have the T-shirt on. And we're sitting at the bar last night. So
Glug,
we're
glug,
sitting,
glug, glug, glug.
we're sitting at the bar, and she sees my shirt. So
So, what is United Israel
say World Union.
World Union?
No, do it again.
So, what is United Israel World Union?
United Israel World Union. Would you stop?
Ralph, Shekai Babakasha.
Okay.
United Israel.
Should we start over?
Yeah.
Okay. So, what is United Israel World Union?
It's a okay,
Cut,
ready.
cut.
United Israel World Union. And I keep laughing at the phone. It's a 73-year-old organization.
Mm-hmm.
No, I'm sorry. You got to write this down. United Israel World Union is a 73-year-old Jewish organization. It was founded by David Horowitz in New York. Have Maybe you heard of him?
Yeah, I think I did.
The
Yeah,
author.
Yeah, I think
He
I
died.
have.
He lived to be 99 years old. He died in 202.
Oh, I don't think I know this guy.
So
Tell
it
me
started
more.
in 1944,
Mm-hmm.
and it was the first Jewish organization in the United States. It's recognized for this, to say, not to convert people to Judaism, but to say that the message of the Hebrew Bible, you know, the Old Testament,
Mm-hmm.
you probably call it the Old Testament,
Right, right.
You know, it's in your Bible. You have that message of the Hebrew Bible, which Jesus, you know, as a Jew and other Jews throughout history have believed in, should go to the whole world. So he started this organization. It's really simple. The idea would be that if all of Israel got together, not just the Jews, but you've heard of the lost tribes,
Mm-hmm.
if they all got together, united Israel, then the whole world would begin to be drawn. And that's exactly what the prophets say. I
Okay.
don't know if you ever read Isaiah 2.
So what do you think about the rapture?
The rapture, I'll tell you,
Give me a minute.
in United Israel World Union, this is maybe what you'll like about it. We only have two tenets.
Uh-huh. What are they?
There's one God, and we should order our lives by the revelation of the Hebrew Bible. We leave it up to you to figure out. So eschatology, end of the world, prophet, all these, we love discussing it. So, you know, the idea of the rapture, I think Christians believe like Jesus will come back, and
Mm-hmm.
that's not a belief we find in the Hebrew Bible, but we're certainly open to all kinds of interpretations.
Well,
So
how can I learn more? Where do I go?
we have a website,
Oh,
and it's really an amazing website. You
Uh-huh.
got to go.
it is.
It's unitedisrael.org, O-R-G. Can you remember that?
Yep.
Unitedisrael.org. And tune in on Saturday morning at 10:30, 11:30 Eastern.
Mhm.
And we have a Hebrew Bible teacher, Ross Nichols.
Right.
And he simply works through the text of the Bible.
I think I heard of him.
And you can be part of this. It's not like a church, or you don't really join it, you associate with it.
Mhm.
So if you believe in, you know, we'll do it right now. Do you believe in the one God of Israel, the creator?
Yes.
And do you believe the Hebrew Bible is his word?
Yes.
Welcome to United Israel.
Well, thank you. I'm so glad I met you today.
Thank you.
Where do I get a t-shirt?
This kind of thing actually does happen at the United Israel conferences, in the bar and so forth, like where they have food. No, so I think all of you know Dave and Patty. Not only are they board members, ordained, they've been doing a lot of work as ministers for United Israel. They've performed various life cycle events, from funerals to not only close friends, but
Hospitals,
you know, hospital visitation,
birth nursing homes.
So we're trying to do the work on the ground in our various centers, and Dave and Patty run the Northeast. We told you this the other day. Remember, point 2 is don't despise the day of small things, right? So you present it. Remember, the Zionist Congress was a group of guys like just us, and we're like, hey, let's go rent a tux, and we're going to call ourselves the Zionist Congress. That's what they did. Get a picture, and then forever people go, wow, look at this. It was like 8 guys in Texas.
And they rented like a ballroom.
Yeah. And so they changed the world. So in a way, when we say this is United Israel South, this is the southern region. That's what I do. These guys do the Northeast, right? The
Northeast, really.
Welcome to the South.
All right,
Dave.
thank you. All right. Well, thank you very much. It's really an honor to talk here today. I wanted to kind of talk about the Song of Moses. And how this happened was Ross said, you're going to do a talk and I need a title. And we were talking on the phone, and as Spirit moved us, and I said, well, we'll do the Song of Moses. And I had no idea that that's what was going to happen. And so I just finished it 3 minutes ago. There are many greater scholars in this room than me. Trust me, I'm just saying that. But I'm coming from a different point of view, and that's the real world kind of point of view. And one of the things I've always admired about Ross on the Shabbat teachings, 10:30 Central Time, 11:30 Eastern Time, he relates the Hebrew Bible to the average everyday person. And that's what we really have to do. That's the word of God to his children. Anyways, so I want to say a few things. First of all, this is congratulations to Ross and the whole gang of people down here that have created this. It's an amazing thing. If you're not here, this is a beautiful place, a respite from the real world. You can come in and it's shelter from the storm. And I'll tell you, I want to thank also Lori Woodall for her inputs to this, because it's got that touch of class, and I feel really good. Oddly enough, and I kind of believe in these little, signs along the way, I chose this gray background before I knew what color they painted it, and it kind of looks like it fits in here. White trim and gray, and it's how I did my presentation. Anyways, I want to say that this is a reflection of my personal experiences, and so it's not necessarily the position of United Israel World Union. James made it very clear. If you believe those two basic things, what you believe individually and what you practice in your own life is up to you. And I'm going to just be very personal and relate some of that to you today. Using knowledge found elsewhere and applied with Torah principles in mind is how I see the world. And I'll talk a little bit about that. There are many other strategies for maximizing your life, but if you see it through the lens or the prism of the Torah, I believe that you're going to get a better life. And I'm very impressed with Solomon. I feel very close to his writings, and I kind of see the world the way he did in many ways. So a couple of things, the Song of Moses. I'm just going to quote Psalm 102. This shall be written for a generation to come, maybe us, and a people yet to be created when this was written, shall praise Yah. And I truly believe that is one of the reasons why the Song of Moses came along. Ecclesiastes 1, that which has been is that which shall be, and that which has been done is that which shall be done, and there is nothing new under the sun. Think about this as we go through this discussion, and I want to kind of relate to you some of the other people who have influenced my life. One of them was Steve Jobs, and I talked about this a little bit last night, but he said before he died, you can't connect the dots looking forward. All these events are dots. Just call them dots in your life. You wonder, why am I doing this? Why am I doing that? Yeah. Why did my wife call the University of North Carolina in 1992 looking for a Dr. Tabor because she was a baby Tabor, adopted girl? And he goes, oh, we got this book, this book about restoring Abrahamic faith. We're like, yeah, we'll look at that. And I'm like, this guy believes just like us. It was really amazing. And so you have to look backwards. And today I can look backwards in this room and say, this is why Ross Nichols is here. There are very few people like Ross Nichols. I'm just going to be honest with y'all. He is an incredible scholar of the Bible, but also another thing about Ross, and I'm going to talk about that today, he has integrity. Integrity is an extremely important aspect of what we leave behind, is the integrity that with which we lived life. I'm a little more esoteric than this group, so I've looked at the gematria and the Kabbalah and stuff, and I'm not pushing that on you, but there was a great Jewish scientist, Richard Feynman, and Richard Feynman, one of the things he said. So after Einstein, this is the number 2 guy. You probably don't know him if you're not. I'm a theoretical mathematician, so that's my graduate work. My thesis was on very abstract things that kind of don't exist. And so Richard Feynman said something. He was an American theoretical physicist, and he said something that you cannot ask, and that is, beyond the system with which you live, you're not allowed to ask those questions. And think of that just. It's called the Ein Sof in Kabbalah. Think of that as just, there are limits to what we can ask ourselves. And don't waste your time chasing that rabbit down the rabbit hole. It's a bigger place than you think. Like what happened before time began. Not to send you off on that thought, but why is it that we can say, you've heard the Psalm, right? From everlasting to everlasting. Well, to everlasting, yeah, let's just keep rolling. But what do you mean? What was there something? Don't ask the question. Don't go down the rabbit hole. Some other things that I want to say are assumptions here. Moses is God is God. I love that in the movie, The 10 Commandments, when the Pharaoh is destroyed and his wife comes up, this snarly little Nefertarian says, what is going on? And he said, he's Yul Brenner, Moses God is God. This is after his army gets destroyed. So Yahweh, Jehovah is the creator, is a spirit, it's not a man, is Ein Sof, there's certain unknowable things which we don't need to know, and is infinite, whatever that means. And when you start looking up to the stars at night and you realize just how big the universe is, it starts to blow your mind. Don't worry about it. We're concerned with this here now. We're all on an exodus. I don't care who you are. We're leaving the Greco-Roman Egyptian fill that comes in. It's around us. It's killing us. We'll leave that. And then we want to find that truth, whatever it is. We want clarity in our understanding of what God is and expects of us, and understanding. These are things that we all can, I bet you everyone in this room could add a beautiful spin on what I just put up there, because we're all going through that. And that's something that I want us all to know. I put up a little math because I'm a mathematician, and I like true math has no ambiguity. It is the truth. And there's no, well, what did he mean by that? Depends on what is. You know what I mean? No, E equals MC squared, the famous Einstein equation. You know what this does say about God, though, and people really get angry when I point this out? Out of pure energy, you can create mass. What? What are you telling me that, I mean, God just thought this thing into existence? He could have. I believe that. And there's also something like a tautology, so a logic statement. So I have a problem when anyone says anything. I come up with what's known as the predicate calculus, and that bothers me because I'm like always questioning, and sometimes I just got to drop it. But here, the probability of something existing, an event A, is equal to 1 minus the probability that it doesn't exist. So sometimes knowing what doesn't exist tells you what exists. And if you can wrap your mind around that, we could talk about that later. It's called the predicate calculus. So wisdom is the thing. And that's why I love Solomon. Proverbs, I'm not going to read it, but get wisdom, get understanding, forget them, because they add to your life. As I applied Torah principles to my life, I have a better relationship with my wife. We went on this journey together. Our business is overflowing. We're doing great jobs. We have a great life. We've been protected. I've been protected in very bad situations. So if what wisdom is something I want to talk about just very briefly. Of course, Job, right? With aged men is wisdom, in the length of days understanding. With God is wisdom and might. He hath counsel and understanding. So what is wisdom? Well, there's a way that it was modeled by psychiatrists. I'm going to give you a very simple version of that model. Sorry, I went the wrong way. There we go. So if you looked at the model of human understanding, it starts with the capability that Jehovah put into us. We're incredible creatures designed in the image of the Almighty. I even hesitate to say him because I think God is beyond male or female, So data is, there's pieces of data. We collect data and we have information. And so we got information. Well, when you have a brain and you use knowledge, everyone's kind of guaranteed this if they're born without severe defects. They're not guaranteed wisdom. That isn't for everybody, and you have to search for it. I see James, his whole life he's searched for it, right? He's a professor, he studies, but people like Ross are kind of different in that he had his job and his kids and his, he's going to have a movie star here and his beautiful wife, but he still sought after it, and it comes, and I see that in Ross now, and it makes me happy. Unfortunately, most of the time your hair turns gray. And when you get the wisdom, and that's not a joke, it really does happen. I also like Solomon for another reason. He acquired wisdom from other sources, and the Christian view sometimes is, hey, I got the KJV and that's all I need. Well, not really. Solomon looked way beyond to the east, and I've looked at things. I, in fact, loved Maimonides, the Rambam, and he said, to the extent your religion disagrees with true science, I'm not talking about fake science, your religion is wrong. What? You're a religious leader. What are you talking about? No, I'm telling you, because God spoke in scientific terms. let there be light. You know the first thing that was created, according to the scientists? The photon light. Wow. I mean, science and religion agree? Zen. I love this one. There's no stress in the world. Where is it? Oh, it's here. I made stress. Buddhism. Connect with others and nurture those connections. Work to disarm the ego. One of the biggest problems that you have, especially if you're a learned person and you have a high IQ, is your ego gets out of control, and you got to put it in check. And I hold my dogs, and I know, drop the ego, Dave. You know, so what if you're smart and you have graduate degrees and you do it? But forget that. Here's a dog wants to lick your face. Here's another truth in Islam, which has been kind of just run over. Say what is true, although it may be bitter and displeasing to people. Well, one of the things a Sunday preacher doesn't want to do is go tell you, stop doing what you're doing and repent. I never knew what repent was when I listened to Christian people. I thought just ask for forgiveness. Yes, it is, but it's also not doing what you did. And why I keep doing the same things over and over again is a mystery to even myself. Catholic, so this is wisdom. It is the grace of being able to see everything with the eyes of God. There's a lot of intelligence all around the world that's there, and you can't just say, oh, the Hebrew Bible is the only space. It is the focus, but there's light that goes around everywhere. Confucius, there's many other people. And when you learn them, you can talk to those people in context. I like talking to people of Eastern religions. I don't know if you know this, but there are a lot of Jews that become Buddhists. Did you know that? Richard Gere came from Syracuse, New York, where we live. My friend Jack Amsel, a great Jewish man, he went to Vietnam. He came back a Buddhist, and I don't argue with Jack. I just love him. Judaboos.
There's a LSU professor that wrote a book called The Jew and the Lotus. Richard Caminet's here at LSU. Good book.
I'd like to put that book down. By the way, speaking of that, this is in a PDF format, and I could send it to anybody that wants this. You're more than welcome to take it. So some life observations, and there's a lot of gray hair in this room, so I'm sure that there's more than just what I'm saying. Some people are leaders, and some are followers. Both are equal in the eyes of God. Be comfortable with who you are. As a Christian, I was taught, you're one of the sheep, just follow along. And I'm like, oh, really? I'm not one of those people. It may take time to figure out who you are as a believer and what you should be do in your life. So be patient. And of course, Psalm 27, waiting on Jehovah. And sometimes it's many years that you wait on Jehovah. You're like, I like that Garth Brooks song, Thank God for Unanswered Prayers, because I asked for a lot of things I'm glad that didn't happen. About the first 12 women I dated and wanted to be my wife. He's like, no. So I got this little girl from Chicago. She's Polish and Irish. Yeah. So I fell in love with her, and that was a good thing. And see, one of the things, and I know there's vegetarians in here, but the lions don't concern themselves with the opinions of the sheep. What I'm saying is, I love what Ross said. I'm just going to say what I believe now. I'm not going to be worried about offending people because I'm a CEO, and I sometimes have to call people in and say, you're all done. And they'll scream, they'll cry, they'll threaten me. Some of these boys know how to use guns. I'm nervous sometimes. You know what I'm saying? So I'm just telling you. So one of the things that I always had affinities with the lion before I even knew what these symbols of the tribes were. The worst part of being strong is that no one asks if you're okay. Boss, I need more money. Boss, I need all that stuff. And you're like, what about me? What did I do this week? It doesn't matter, right? And I'm sure Ross gets that. He's going to be a leader down here. He has been a leader. But every once in a while I call and ask Ross, hey, I know Bridget is out in Los Angeles, and, it's tough when what you're going through. By the way, Bridget and Toby came up to our house and had dinner on our deck, and I fell in love with little Toby. I just think he's an incredible kid. I just wanted to say that. So one of the,
He's so smart.
he is a very,
Spanish as a language shouldn't be taught in Europe.
Yeah.
Oh no, they need to learn English. There's no official language for the United States, actually. Like states a little faster.
hey, every Spanish speaker wants to speak English. I can assure you that. There's very few. Yeah. Some books I found useful. Of course, it goes without saying, the Tanakh, and that truth of the message of the Hebrew Bible. So even though I listened to Jim and Ross, when I read the United Israel World Union Constitution and bylaws, I said, I fit here. I fit in this place because I could have some other whacked out ideas that they can't say no to. No, but I'm just saying. There's some other books. So I believe, what's the matter?
It's scary.
Yeah, it is. Another thing, I believe, and I'm not saying it because he's here and he's my friend, Restoring Abrahamic Faith by James Tabor is a book that everyone should read. I don't care who they are or what they are. We hand it out like, it's just lollipops or whatever. Paul and Jesus, I love that book because really, Paul is a problem. And I'm not going to get into that, but without him, we wouldn't be here today. And let me defend that later. I don't want to obfuscate my talk here. Of course, The Jesus Dynasty, another brilliant book. One of the other things about James Tabor is he's a brilliant writer. His style is pleasant. I have Eisenman's books. I love them, but it's like trying to go through a maze in a tunnel. I go, bah, bah. And talking to him in a bar after he's had a few shots. Wow. It's fun, but you go away thinking, which end is up?
He's listening now. You're gonna get a Facebook.
A tome, Yahweh Exists or Jehovah Exists, Jodelle Onstadt, who's here. It's a brilliant, brilliant book. And I'll tell you, the research that she put into that book is astonishing. And again, about the covenants and the rules and so forth. Who wrote the Bible? Well, that was Ralph, I wanted to say Ralph Emery. Holy cow, that's what a few years ago. Ralph Button told me to go read that book. It was beautiful. It might scare some people. Doesn't scare me. The American Religion by Harold Bloom, who's a Jewish atheist out of Harvard. But if you want to know about how American religion's different, it's very honest, and it talks about the Seventh-day Adventists and the Mormons, Jehovah's Witnesses, and how they start factual only. Beautiful stuff. The Christian New Testament. That's how as Ross has it, following Jesus out of Christianity, that's how I went back to the Torah. I listened to this itinerant rabbi from the Nazareth, wherever that is. The Talmud. Wow, there's been so much genius that's come out of there. I don't say I believe everything in these books. That's the other thing I wanted to say. I just learned from them, that's all. Encyclopedia Judaica and Hebraica. We have probably more books that are in this whole place in our house because we've been doing this for a long time and we've put books everywhere. And I don't like ebooks. I like that right script. All right. Early Church Fathers, that 38 volumes. When I found the book that said, we don't care what day the Sabbath day, but it's going to be any day but the Jews, then I knew they were wrong. And I got that clipped. The paper clip is rusted. It's been there so long. Yeah, the two Babylons, Alexander Hislop. You ever read that book? The different trinities that there were, Jesus, Mary, and Joseph. Really? Yes, there was. And Pagans and Christians by Robin Lane Fox. It's a big thing. But it goes through all the Greco-Romanization from pagans to Christians there. So that's a good thing. There's some great ones here that, again, I'm going to just leave these. I'm not going to go through them all, but these are books that I use a lot. And so, like, for instance, E. Raymond Capp's books on the tribes, I have all of them. And I don't know how many people have them all, but there's like 35 of them. And they're brilliant. Duggar's History of the True Religion, traced from 33 AD to date. That's a brilliant book. Herbert W. Armstrong, American Great Britain and Prophecy. It's a phenomenal book. I'm not Armstrongian. I don't believe in all the things he believed, but I learned a lot from Herbert in The World Tomorrow. I would just sit there and listen to him. I was a long kid with hair down to my, and it was in Los Angeles, but I turned him on, man. It was beautiful to see him talk. I love the way he talked. Some other ones, The Games People Play. A great book. You should just read about it. It's The 7 Habits, The 8th Habit, Good to Great, and Hope is Not a Strategy. Hope isn't a good strategy. It's just not. Are we running out of time? We're not. We're doing okay. Hope is not a strategy. I want to just go over here for 1 second and show you something I wish I had learned when I was a young person.
How you like that dry race?
It's I have to mark up boards. I was a chalkboard person, but I want to just do something really quick here about transactional analysis. So in the I'm just going to be very quick. After World War II, there was 2 great doctors. One was a PhD in psychology. The other was an MD, and they were married. Simon and Simon. They were Jews. They were hired by the United States War Department, and they were sent to Europe to look into the orphanages. What are we going to do with these kids? And they came up with something very astonishing that shocked everybody at the time. And here's what it was. And it changed psychology. It's not really talked about, but it should be. They went to a bunch of orphanages that were perfectly clean, very German, and babies were in the cribs doing this, rocking. They went to other orphanages. This is almost 100% statistical correlation. And the places were a mess, but the babies were happy. They're like, people like to be dirty? No. The ones where that was dirty, the nursemaids would hold the children and love them, not clean. And he talked about what you need strokes. So they started a whole discourse, and here's what strokes are. When I walk into a room, I'm going to use Ralph here. I could give him a strokes or no strokes. So the strokes break down into two, positive and negative. Hey, Ralph, you're looking good. How you doing? Or, gee, Ralph, are you okay? You know, the negative stroke. What's going on with you? You look a little bad. Are you okay? And then there's the worst, which is no stroke. Wait, I know you for 30. So the way to really get people upset is not to say a thing. I'm telling you. So here's something real quick that you should look at. So the adult mind was modeled in three states, we're going to call them. So one was the parental state, one was the adult state, one was the child state. So these are two people, and their minds are working. And in their minds, they're going to relate to one another. So the most perfect form of communication is adult to adult. I look at this as like two engineers sitting down saying, how are we going to get 300 horsepower out of this motor or 50 watts power? And they talk technically, and there's no obfuscation. Then there's a parental talk, right? So as a parental talk, there's a good parent and a bad parent. So the good parent is, hey, Mikey, you're doing great. That D plus is not that bad of a grade. Or you could give the bad parent, right? You idiot, you're walking in the street. Really? That's how people talk. I see them. That's why I will never go to Walmart anymore. And I'm sorry. So then in that parental state, you can talk to someone in whatever state they're in. The child state is the same thing. There's a good child. Hey, let's write a book about our experiences and get all excited. Then there's the bad child. Hey, let's go put a bomb down the toilet and blow up the toilet. I did that in high school. I launched an M80 down the toilet. That was the bad child, and they take you away like, no, I'm saying. So the issue is that when you're in these states. So let me tell you what one of the greatest psychologists I ever met, Dr. David Baskins, another Jew who works on Wall Street. He said, if you come into a meeting and you can't get someone into adult-to-adult conversation within 5 sentences, come back. It's not the day. You're not going to change them. So he also came up with another great thing, and this is something we got to talk about. 55% of all knowledge that you pass on to people come from personal meetings. 38% comes from voice, and 7% comes from the written. So what he's saying is, this is obfuscating. It's not very good. It's not a good way. It's okay to talk like that, but when you really want to make an impact, you have to come in person, and that's why I love what's happening here today. I've heard so many great stories from all of you, and I'm sure there's more to be told. That's an important aspect of life that we gotta look at. We have to talk to one another, and even if we Skype, it's still better than the text. Ross, you up? You know, I mean, it's okay to do that, and it's kind of covert, or maybe, of that kind of thing. All right, so there's some outreach which you know of, but James has a great blog. Synagogue Without Walls, is that gone? Gone. Okay, so United Israel World Union.
Meaning that was a site, we had a social network.
Right.
Just got off the leash.
All right, good. And then I try to tune into Jodal on Friday nights. It's always good to have a talk where she explains her book and other things. So there's outreach. I'm sure there's more. I'm not trying to take up that time. Let me go right to this. So, I want to talk about why we're here. Well, it's the meaning of our life, right? So I believe the Hebrew Bible sets a foundation, rules, and a focus for living our lives. Life needs to be lived. the piety of Christianity, while it's kind of, impressive, it's not really what life was about. It's about living life. When you hold your grandson, I don't know if there's a better feeling in the world. You see your father's eyes, you want to just start to cry. You hold your child. All these things. Life needs to be lived here and now. It's simply not a waiting place for some utopia. I went and gave a eulogy for my first, I'll call him teacher. His name was James Stocker. And he was from the Church of Christ, and he kind of came the way we were coming. But before, in the 60s, this happened, in the 70s. And he would come over and he talked to me. And he was really a brilliant Bible scholar. He read the KJV. And he'd always say things like, I hear Ross saying, well, don't believe me, read your Bible, that kind of thing. And when he died on the last day of Sukkot. And I just had learned about Sukkot. And I said, can I give a talk, a eulogy? So I went there, and then there was the Mount Zion Evangelical Church. It was where he was being buried because his daughter was that type. And so that guy got up and he said, do you know where James is now? He's on Hallelujah Boulevard. I'm like, oh my God. And I'm sitting there, and I get up and I said, do you know what date James died on? The last day of the holy days. And I said, there's 7 of them. Can we count them? Like I like to do. I know there are more than 10 commandments, but let's just name the 10 statements. Can you name them? You'd be surprised. People are like, I'm just saying. And so it's not about that utopia. And James lived a beautiful life. Also, Genesis, God saw everything he had made, and behold, it was very good. It wasn't just good, it was very good. Tov Ma'od. And there was evening and there was morning, the 6th day. And then, of course, comes that great thing called the Sabbath. The other thing I wanted to try to talk about is that there are rabbis who believe this, and I kind of believe it in my own way, so I'm going to let you know that God sang the universe into existence. That's not provable, so don't take that, but I just feel that way. Guess what also happened? What also happened, and I'm telling you about how science and this comes together. What also happened is, if we looked at the spectrum of physics, right? At this end, we had the theory of relativity, and then we had quantum mechanics down here. Okay? These two don't agree. They if you push that down here, Max Planck, uncertainty, and then you go all the way up here and you got, Einstein and how the universe works. But guess what's in the middle now? String theory. And what does that mean? The smallest particle are all the same, but they just vibrate at different frequencies. And guess what that means? Just like that guitar or the piano. I'm sorry, I just had to throw that in there. So string theory might be the way the theory of everything comes together. And that's where my math was. And I met a really brilliant man called Brian Greene, who's at Columbia now. And I think we'll get the Nobel Prize. And I have 50 emails with him. And when I talked about, well, you're Jewish, do you believe in God? He never wrote back to me. He's an atheist, and I felt bad. Anyways, I started. So they will sing your name. Here's a bunch of references. I don't want to get stuck on them. These references, man, there's a proclamation that we will sing God's name. Even if you're off key, you need to sing God's name. I always think of Simcha Jacovici, or he says Jakovovitz or something, whatever. Jakubowicz. Jakubowicz. He even sings. As bad as he sings, and it's just a beautiful thing. I just love Simcha, which we met. So what is the Song of Moses, to get to our point today, and how did it kind of tie? Well, I wanted to kind of give you a feeling of what our thoughts were. So there's at least 3 songs that Moses wrote. So you got to be careful when you say the Song of Moses, right? So one was sung after the crossing of the Red Sea, Exodus 15. One is recorded in Psalm 90, and the other was written in the last day of Moses' life in Deuteronomy 32. So these are Moses. So as the time on his earth drew to a close, Moses tied up several loose ends in his ministry, following God's instructions, setting everything in order. God told Moses to write a song, commonly called the Song of Moses. So when the God tells you, hey, you got to write a song, you got to write a song and teach it to the people. So we're here today to teach it to you. And Patty's going to do it. Don't think you're going to sing as good as Patty, because it's a tough thing to do. But it's going to be beautiful. And of course, then you remember Joshua's commissioned and Moses is going to go up to Nebo. And I can't even talk about it because I'm going to start crying because that's one of the most powerful points. See what you can see this promised land, Moses, but you cannot go in. And, James, we got to go to Mount Nebo when we get over there to Israel. I don't know. Maybe we could do that. And hey, man, let's go. I'm in. If we're going to Mount Nebo, I'm in.
It's right there.
It's right there. You see it from a side. You can see it from on the Israeli side or the West Bank side.
See it from the wilderness where we're gonna be.
Yeah, it's
Maybe a little bit off.
a little off. But when you come down out of Jerusalem to the Dead Sea, so you hear what I'm saying? Y'all need to go to Israel if you can afford it. Got it. Exactly. Right. So one of the things about the Song of Moses is a very important thing that, to me, I think it stands above the rest of even the beloved ones, David's songs. It's a strikingly original form. Nowhere else in the Hebrew Bible are such prophetic thoughts presented in poetical dress on a large scale. He was also, it's very artistic. This is an incredible piece of music. Conspicuous literary ability and artistic skill. Like a vulture that stirreth upon its nest, that hovereth over its young, spread across. Just read some of these. It kind of reminds me of Dylan. I know that's a strange thing, and I don't want to get on about Bob, but he's really something else. All right. So I have to. So I'm sorry. I thought I took all these out. So this is this. God is described as a warrior there through an army in the sea, shattered that army, blew with his nostrils and moved the sea. Just going over what this says there. The Philistines will be gripped by anguish, the Edomites. So all these people were given what they were given. My point to you is this. God's tough sometimes. He really is in the Bible about the enemies. And I'm not going to get into that, but it's not nice what he wants from those people. So let's look at an example of how this, how we're going to give you insight as to how what we're going to sing melodically is. So this isn't just someone's composition. We're going to go to the Hebrew and we're going to look at it. Okay? And it actually has a code. And that code is the melody. All right? So this is complete Hebrew script. Okay? So this is the normal Hebrew without, if you were to read a Hebrew paper like today or a book. And then there's just with only the vowels. When you're learning, you have the vowels. But there's something else too, because again, it's a musical thing. There's the cannellation symbols, and they contain the melody. So what you're going to hear Patty sing today is what we believe is the melody that was sung with it originally. We can't prove that, but there's a whole book that I could give you. It's a PDF. I could give you the PDF. It's 256 pages, and it describes the whole approach that was taken. The cannellation then combined with the aleph bait equals a scale. It's a little different than the scale that we use in Western music, but it is has a few more extra notes in it. So sometimes when you hear Middle Eastern music, it sounds out of key to you. It's because there are more notes. So if I look at it, here's the prayer of Moses. So this is what it looks like finally transcribed. I don't want to go through that whole class, but when we transcribe it, this is the Western scales, and this is the Hebrew, and this is how it's sung. And of course, this would kind of be the English, if you will. So Patty's going to sing in English today, and we're going to do our best to try to understand that. So in summary, one of the things that I think is important about this song, and you're going to hear the words, it's very relevant today is when it was authored. And maybe it's just such a day as this, It has both moral and prophetic information embedded in it. It's a message that came through the ages. Very special message. Not that the whole Hebrew Bible isn't a special message, but there's certain things that were brought out that were peaks. And when God goes and tells you to write a song, it's not the 10 Commandments, but it's like, wow, God ordered you to do something. This is a powerful thing. Patty's going to sing it. And so this melody, although she sang it for this group in different versions before, is really an ancient melody that's been westernized a little bit, but it's pretty close to the original. And so I would like to introduce my wife. This year in February 13th, we're going to be married for 35 years. So this is Patty Tyler. All right. So I'm going to pull this out now, David, and I'm going to, she's going to sing it live. We're going to play the music of it. So what we did is we created a little orchestral music and to go behind the singing, and it's the chords that are identified in there. So I want you to know that. So that's going to come out of this little lamp, and Patty's it's without the vocals, and Patty's going to sing along. But we're having mastered. It's still not done. I'm waiting for an announcement. We have it mastered for Ross's grand opening. It's just hopefully we'll get it by tomorrow, and we'll be able to give you guys copies of it. Yeah. So here we go.
I'm not used to not having a microphone, but
That's okay.
I hope y'all can hear me. Huh? Okay. All right, I'll do that then. Oh, I have a microphone. Listen, you heavens, and I will speak. Let the earth hear the words of my mouth. For they will fall as the rain from the sky, and like dew on the grass they will lie. For I will proclaim the name of Yahweh and tell of what rightly is his. For his works are faithful, his words are true. Kila olam chasdo. Ki tov le'yadot la Yahweh Eloheinu. Ki tov le'yadot Yahweh. Give thanks to Yahweh, for it is good to give thanks to our God Yahweh. Though with their own eyes his works they did see, they chose not to follow his lead. His face he has hid from them and from us, to see what we do with our lives. Shuvah Yahweh Admati. Anna Shuvah Yahweh. Come back, Yahweh. How long must we wait? We beg you, come back, Yahweh. Ki tov le'yadot la Yahweh Eloheinu. Ki tov le'yadot Yahweh. Give thanks to Yahweh, for it is good to give thanks to our God Yahweh. Ki tov le'yadot la Yahweh Eloheinu. Ki tov le'yadot Yahweh. Give thanks to Yahweh, for it is good to give thanks to our God, Yahweh. Give thanks to our God, Yahweh.
We did use the version of the sacred name, Kadesh, and so we didn't mean to offend anybody that might be watching. But I do believe that David profusely and commonly used the name when he was speaking to God, and I think it's one of the things that turned my life around was knowing that God had a name and trying to understand what it means. And so I just want you to know that it's not something we take lightly. We never use it commonly, and it's only in praise or worship that we would even use the name. We all, like many of you, I use the name when I talk to people. Usually use Jehovah most of the time, or even Jehovah, because I'm trying to relate to people. Or some people have learned it another way. That's another discussion. But the fact is, you're trying to pronunciate a name that is the name of the Creator, and it's kind of looking at creation in the eye. I think when you see that name, and so I wanted just to end up by saying that we will have we have a few songs that we've published and are producing. They're almost done. I'm sorry they couldn't have been done for today, but we'll be able to download them. I'm sure that Ross can help us, or maybe Anna can help us put them up on the web. And I do have that PowerPoint. I don't know if I could. It's in PDF. I could send it to Ross, and he could send it to you, or you could just give me your email address and I'll mail it to you.
Or Anna can put it up.
Or Anna could put it up there.
This thing Anna's here. We've got a list.
Right, yeah. No, that's good. You know, so I wanted to, I wanted to say also, the great book about this is by George McCorkle, and he's an incredible musician, and it took him down a path like us, where he all of a sudden became, wow, no one believes like me, but he lives in Connecticut, and he's still around, and we talked to him while we were doing this, and I think this is one of the finest renditions that's going to be done, and we want it to be common so everyone could hear it, and we'll talk more about how it's going to be presented, but we're just trying to open it up while we're in the thinking process to let people hear it, and I want to thank everyone for hearing me out on these ancient melodies and a few other various scientific and mathematical discussions. But thank you all for letting me talk.
Okay, these after lunch times are a little bit tougher for people. Would you agree? Sometimes, like extended. This was great, but I'm saying if we keep going, people start kind of dozing off. So what I'd like to do is offer everybody, let's take a break. Let's get up and stretch. Do you need some? Oh, I don't even have a mic. Oh. Okay, let me just rewind. Okay, these after lunch. What we're going to do, though, is we are going to take just some time and allow people to walk around, mingle. I'll call you back with the sound of a shofar. You know, in the book of Numbers, in the book of Bamidbar, chapter 10, there are 10 reasons for the sounding of these horns. So you need to know these. Because what if, like James spoke this morning on a clarion call, so what if there were certain sounds that meant certain things? Like what if one of my trumpet calls means it's time to eat, but another one might be it's time to go to bed, and you get them confused. See, you have to make sure. So Numbers chapter 10, you can read that. You can learn these different sounds. It's prophetically important as well, by the way. But really, one of the things that I'd like to do is as people get up, in the next 15 minutes, we're going to go out to the sukkah. Like we're going to start moving that way, but you might want to grab a drink or a snack. And Rachel has some banners. And we're going to put these banners up in our sukkah. The neighbors love this, by the way. Some people came by looking for Ooh La La, which isn't my nickname. That's something that, but they came looking for Ooh La La, and they said, we love this building out here, this little thing. What is that? And it was like my elevator speech. And I said, well, you know, in the book of Leviticus. And they're like, look, we just need our haircut. We need So, but it is nice, and it does attract the neighbors, and people that are driving by will slow down and look and see, and they don't know what it is. But
Standing out in it, and a guy's drove by his car and is waving.
that wasn't the sukkah. That's you. He was just. You got to watch these local boys. That, yeah.
So naive.
The guy didn't even see the sukkah, Patty. It's like, oh, it's. Yeah. Yes, Rhonda. Okay.
Our house just got the sign in the yard.
Hey.
We have a showing tomorrow, but we're still about, I don't know, a week away from being finished. So, but I wanted to just stop by before I put on my paint clothes again. Is there a lot of people here I don't know?
Come on up. Come here, Rhonda. Come here. Let me tell you.
Rhonda Chatterton.
So for those of you who don't have the privilege of knowing Rhonda, Rhonda is a dear friend of mine. This is Glenn's better half. And
Definitely.
so definitely, I'm sure he appreciates. But I just want to let you know that Rhonda and Glenn have accepted a position in his company. I could say your company because you've been together so
It's
long.
actually not his company.
It's but it's not
A new
his.
company.
It's a company that okay, that's true. So see how quickly this goes? I don't even know all the details, but they're moving to Michigan. Now we're going to talk more about this tomorrow at the ordination, but it's interesting where this place is in relation and how that ties in with the whole United Israel story. So it's sort of a shock. We're leaving and we're like, oh my God, what's going on? And then, but I think it's going to turn out to be absolutely beautiful for them.
I just said about a month ago to Ross, I said, we have a southern, a northeast headquarters. I said, we really need something again in Michigan because we used to have.
Yep.
I said that. I
Yep.
said, we need somebody in Michigan. I wish we knew somebody in Michigan.
I have to
That was a
tell
month
y'all,
before,
Oh, yeah.
I have to tell y'all the coolest thing. Like I'm one of these people that believes in little signs, little confirmations that we're on the right track. And we went up there last weekend to, he had to do his processing into the plant and all, so he'd be ready on the day he starts. And we went on another house hunting trip. Well, I keep being brought back to the same house. It's like I've looked at it 4 times now and nothing else. It's like, that's my house, you know? Well, so we made an offer on it. They countered and we accepted it. And then we found out that once you get an offer, you send an offer, you see the people's name. Well, the lady that lives in the house currently, or they own it, they've moved to another house. Her name's Rhonda. And then my realtor up there told me, she said, you're not going to believe this. She said, the listing agent, once y'all took the offer, called me and said, oh, tell me all about this couple, tell me about the family. And she said, well, they come from a little town very similar to St. Joseph, very quaint and wonderful. And that it's called St. Francisville. And this lady said, you are kidding me. She's like, I know St. Francisville. I used to live in the area. I've been there many times. What are the chances, So I'm just like, and we've got somebody looking tomorrow. Our sign literally just went in the yard, right? That's why I don't have my work clothes on. Just went in the yard today, and we have someone looking tomorrow that has said, please don't show it to anybody else. So we may have it sold on the first
Very good.
person.
So everyone pray for that. And
Yes.
if it doesn't go to
'Cause I
them,
wanna
then
go there.
somebody
I don't
here
wanna
that
be
needs to
stuck
move
by
here.
myself.
So
Anyway, I just wanted to, we'll be here tomorrow, but I
Okay.
just wanted to stop by and say hi. Cause
no, I'm glad you
earlier
did.
I didn't look presentable enough for the
No,
dogs to
you
see.
don't even try it. Rhonda's just saying that.
We'll be here.
So, yeah, Rhonda and Glenn have been friends for a long time. We're happy. And just to let you know, if these people tomorrow don't buy it, I've been in the last month, I've had 3 or 4 people write me and say, look, we're thinking about moving to St. Francisville because we want to be close to what's going on there. So, I really, that's what Rhonda said. Tell them, call me. So now she says I have to wait. So these people probably would buy it, but no, you.
It's listed now.
Okay. All right.
Waiting.
All right. Bye, Rhonda. So we are going to take a break, and just if you could, between bathroom break and getting a drink or something, mosey out to the Sukkah. We're going to put some banners up. Is that good, Rachel? All right. You want to tell the story when we get out there about it? Okay, we'll do that. I'll bring the mic. No, that look was, can you hear me, Dave? That look was not scolding, like, why are you not sitting down? It was just a look. So this is like, did some of you start your religious journey in a Baptist church or something? Why are some of you in the back? Look, we're actually going to do this. I want you to be very relaxed. I want to do something a little bit different than I had planned, because things have changed even in my thinking over the last 24 hours. James's talk, I sort of knew what he was going to do, because we had a conversation. I knew a little bit about what Dave and Patty were going to do. See, I'm the guy that they all talk to, so I have an advantage. It's not like I have any gift or anything. I just talk to people. But I want to do something sort of informal, sort of engaging, not so much preachy teachy, though that is in my blood, so I try not to do it. But this board is going to revolutionize the Bible teaching world. Thanks to the Tyler clan, the entire family. I want to use this, and I do need to work on my penmanship, but I put two things on this dry erase board. One of these is the name that I put on the program. The other is also on the program, but I think I wasn't sure what to call what I was going to do, so I get to do that now. I can put both. So I want to talk about two things today. One, a new beginning, preaching Moses every Sabbath. The other thing I want to talk about is a phrase from the prophet Isaiah. It's the last verse of Isaiah 60. Now, those of you who listen to me or who listen to James know about these white spaces in the prophets. They don't always follow chapters, but at times they do. It's one of the most important things that you can understand when you study the scriptures. I call it rightly dividing the word of truth. So sometimes the chapters don't line up. Like you think, well, I'm going to go read Isaiah 53, let's say. Well, did you know that to get the context, you can't start at chapter 53, verse 1. At least you have to start at 52:13. But really, you have to go back to Isaiah chapter 40, which begins what scholars call Deutero-Isaiah, second Isaiah. So we're going to talk a little bit about some passages from the prophets. We're going to talk about the significance and the importance of teaching Moses every Sabbath. And we're going to talk about the significance of timing. Timing is everything. So someone in this room made mention to me yesterday that in a way I'm sort of a pioneer, meaning that I've been doing this a long time. Now, it feels weird for me to hear that because I still think that I'm 30. And the older guys and girls have been doing it a lot longer. But when you think about it, 2 decades, 3 decades, that's a long time in any journey, any relationship. So my relationship with God, like many of yours, goes back to the time I was a small child. My mom and sisters are coming later on this evening. She couldn't get here earlier, so I'm sure they'll be here this evening. But when I think about timing, I want to tell you that even in the last 2 decades, my family moved here in 1996. That's 20 years. When we moved here, we were driving around. Some of you know some of this story, but I want to say it. We were driving around this town. The whole family's loaded up. We're going through the historic part of town. This road, Commerce, goes down to the older part. So we turn at the courthouse, and we're driving down a road called Prosperity. And something came over me. Just like, it's one of those moments where you just feel the hair on the back of your neck stand up, and I stopped. And I looked immediately to my left, and there's this beautiful white building, and I said, look at that building. Bridget said, look at the sign. It said Temple Sinai Synagogue, built in 1901 by the Jewish congregation on Turner Hill. I said, they're Jews here. Why else would we move here, right? So now this is 20 years ago, and I'm already beginning to seek and trying to understand the Hebraic roots of my faith. And we moved to a town. Now, the reason we moved here is because we have 6 kids. We lived in a small house. We needed more property. A guy at work was going through a really bad divorce. How many know that sometimes when someone goes through a bad divorce like that, they're just trying to survive? And he said, we have a huge house with a pool, and it sounded way too expensive for me. I didn't know it was a money pit, but it sounded right. And he told me the price. And so we came out and looked. I said, there's no way we can get this. Bridget said she likes taking on fixer-up projects. She looked at it and she said, we can do something with this. We can raise our kids here. So we moved to this town anyway for that, just to get a bigger house. Turns out there's a synagogue. So we get out, we go knock on the door, and a guy was smoking inside the building, working for the city, just in the back of the place. And I said, is this a synagogue? He said, nope. So, well, I'm sorry to be confused, but the sign says it's a synagogue. He goes, it's when the Jews had it. Said, this is now a church. Well, he said, technically it's not a church anymore, but the church owned it. And so I could tell I wasn't getting anywhere. Anyway, I ran into roadblock after roadblock after roadblock, 1996. So I gave up on it. I wasn't doing anything anyway. I was at my house. I was studying, listening to cassette tapes on great Bible teachers. But I was studying. I had a desire within me that said, something's coming. I knew it wasn't there yet, but I felt it. I felt like I had to prepare. And I would study, and I had a great job. I used to have a job. It was a great job. And at the time, I was hourly, and I worked this job, and at night, I would read. I would do my job. I was a good worker. And I would do my job, and then I would read. And I remember I would get faxes from certain people, right? We used a lot of that fax paper, I can tell you. But faxes all night, and it was study. It was the enthusiasm, the energy at that time, but it wasn't time yet. I'm talking about in its time, I will hasten it. So if I fast forward, I'm studying, I'm preparing. In 2005, my oldest son, who was in college at the time, came home, and he was home in my house. We were talking, and I walked into the kitchen to get a cup of coffee, and there was an evangelist on television. And he was saying certain things I didn't agree with. I walked back into the room, and I said, I just don't know how people can be so into this watered down message. And I was just really raking this poor evangelist over the coals. My oldest son looked at me and he said, what are you doing? He said, I don't mean to offend you, but I mean, you've been studying all this time. What are you doing? So what could I do? I mean, where would I do it? I mean, I can't, it's not like I can teach a class. I mean, I don't have a building. And he said, well, why don't you use the synagogue? I said, well, it'd be great if I could. I mean, I've been there, and he pulled out of his pocket and he said, I have the keys. So, well, how do you have the key? And he said, well, some kids were doing this acting class and we're using the building. So I said, can I go up there now? I took the key. We went up to the building, and I'm talking about in its time, I will hasten it. It was the right time. I walked into that building. Within a day or so, I met with the city. I got the keys. This is station number 3 we're in today. That was station 1. December 7th, 2005, I was given the key. The guy said, you don't have to sign any paperwork. You don't have to pay rent. All right. No rent. No utilities. It was just free. Just go use it. He said, I'm so happy someone's going to use it for what it was intended for. So we started meeting in it. I won't go into all the details because the story is known by most. For a while, we thought we didn't have electricity, but It turns out we did. We just never tried it because they said we didn't. That's a good lesson for you. Always check. So, but I went up there day after day, every chance I could. No one was coming. I didn't put a flyer out. I didn't put a newspaper ad out. But I would go up to that building and I would take my Bible and I would walk around and there's nobody in there. You think less of me now. I know, I can see it. But I would preach and I would talk to the people that weren't yet there, because I have this idea that if you build it, they will come. It sounds crazy, but I knew it. I mean, I knew it. I knew that people would come. And so I did this and I did this. And I would go up there, especially on Shabbat, because I would put oil in my beard and I would read Hebrew and I would ask the walls, how long has it been since you heard these words? And then one Sabbath, in walks Dave and Sherry. I didn't invite, I didn't know them. And they walk in the back door, or in the front door, actually. And Dave said, "Are you Ross?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "I'm Dave. This is Sherry. We're not interested in being Jewish. And every church that I've ever joined has split." Is that word for word? That's pretty much word for word. I said, "Well, Dave, it's nice to meet you. I'm not interested particularly in becoming Jewish either. This isn't a church, and if it splits, you have to leave because it's just me and you, and I have the keys." And Dave and Sherry have been here the whole time with me. Thank you very much. So we've been through a lot, but when I think about, and I know some of you have heard that before, but when I think about in its time, I will hasten it, I couldn't make that happen. I tell you this, we stayed in that building every Sabbath and did what, I'm going to tie this in a second. We did what we did for years, and no one ever made us leave. They loved us, in fact, but then something happened and the next phase started. But let me take you to a particular date. January the 21st, 2006. If I'm not mistaken, you know, sometimes things slip and you forget exact dates. I think it was this Saturday that you walked in. If not, it was very close. But that particular morning, I had gone up to the building, and for the first time in my life, I packed my bag differently than I have for years. I had two things in there. So, see, James got me started. Every day of my life, I've carried, well, my adult life, for 20-something years, I carry my Bible everywhere. But it contained the Hebrew Bible and the Christian writings. It's my heritage. I mean, I grew up with it. I'm not a hater. I promise you that there are people that I know and love and care for that are Christians. And I'm going to tell you, if we ever create a place where they're not welcome, where they can't ask questions, where they can't come and learn and challenge and grow, we're in a bad place. So January 21st, I walked in and I said, who knows what this is? So this is a Hertz Pentateuch. It has the Torah and the prophet readings for every Sabbath. And I have never really studied or read or used a prayer book, but this is a Birnbaum's prayer book that Hanok Young gave me. And I brought them in with, it's all that I had in my bag. I didn't have my Bible, and I set it on the, what I call the pulpit, just like this. And I had a prayer shawl, and it was cold. It was sleeting, no electricity. The doors are open, and I can see the sleet coming down the street light. And I remember saying, "What do you want?" I mean, what do you want from me? All these years, all this study, what am I supposed to do? I mean, no one's here. Is it just me? I felt all alone. But then I looked down and I knew what I had to do. It had something to do with what was right there. It had to do with teaching the Torah and the prophets. Now remember, I grew up in a Christian background. Who did not? If you did not grow up in a Christian home in this group, maybe not online, but in this group, all of us. I'm pretty sure it's that way every time I do this. So one passage hit me. You know the story. This is a 72-year-old Jewish organization, and I'm talking to you about this, and I'll tell you why. Who knows where this phrase comes? Preaching Moses every Sabbath. Acts 15. Everybody who finds this Rembrandt knows this verse. See, I knew that it's here. It's in the Torah and the prophets. I didn't grow up in any other faith, so it's what I know. It's what God brought me through, and I think there's a reason for it. I believe that people who are coming from Christianity are the lost sheep of the house of Israel. I'm going to tell you, I think they are. I think they're in paganism. I think that they are blinded in many ways. Not all. They're dear people, but they're our brothers and sisters. We have to help. That's what this place is about. So bear with me. So I knew it had to do with preaching Moses every Sabbath because that was what I knew. But think about this. If you had a t-shirt, speaking of t-shirts, and it said, preaching Moses every Sabbath, on the back it said, you wouldn't understand it. It's a New Testament thing. Something like that. So I decided that morning, January 21st, 2006, that I'm going to preach Moses every Sabbath. Notice it says this, in every city. Moses has them that preach him, King James. Any verse I memorize is King James. God always talks King James in my prophetic moments. But I think that what happened that day changed me in a way that I can't explain. Meanwhile, across the United States, in his little study, James is inscribing something in a Bible that he shipped to me. January 21st, 2006. Can you read that? That's my handwriting, but it's the translation of the Hebrew. Can you see it?
I can see.
All right, go ahead. Yeah, read it.
Okay. From the first day that you set your heart to discern and to humble yourself before your God, your words were heard. Daniel 10:12.
So I had to decipher that because it's written in Hebrew, and so it was a surprise. I knew it was the day, so I had to. It's written in Hebrew script, and it's that verse. Well, see, I'd been praying. Someone said the other day when they walked around as I showed them this place, you know what I was told? It's like you birthed something here. You told me that, didn't you? It's like a baby. It's a long gestation period. But I can tell you that this represents so much more than me. It really does. I want you to know that I really believe that. I don't just say that, I believe that. But here's the thing. I don't know that I have it all figured out. I know that there is a vision. I know that it's going to happen at the right time, but I don't know. I'm speaking like presently. I don't know when it's going to come to total fruition, but it's happening. When I tell you it's happening, my life has been shuffled like you'll never know. But it feels good. It really does. It's strange that it does. The rabbi's wife in Baton Rouge told me the other day, she says, weirdest thing, it's like you got fired and you're always happy and I don't get it. You know, people don't, because I know that it's part of the plan. Most of you are like that too. Something happens, you go, I don't know if I quite get that, but if somehow it fits in, think about it long enough, I'll figure it out. So when I think about the vision, the book of Habakkuk You know Habakkuk? Do you read Habakkuk? Yeah. Go with me to the prophet Habakkuk, chapter 2. Now, a lot of times I'll read from white space to white space, but I just want to get a portion of this so I can talk about it. It says, I will stand, verse 1, Habakkuk chapter 2, verse 1, I will stand upon my watch and set me upon the tower, and will watch to see what he will say to me, and what I shall answer when I'm reproved. And Jehovah answered me and said, write the vision, make it plain upon tablets, that he who reads it may run. For there is still a vision for the appointed time, and it speaks concerning the end and does not lie. Though it tarry, wait for it, because it will surely come, it will not delay. Habakkuk sees in this opportunity, he's told to take the vision and write it plainly. Now, the particular word that's used here in the Hebrew, plainly, is used very infrequently in the Bible. One place that it's used is in Deuteronomy chapter 1, verse 5. In Deuteronomy chapter 1, verse 5, it says that Moses set out to make the teaching plain. If we could do one thing as a group, it'd be to quit calling Torah law. It's instruction, it's guidance. Moses is told to make the teaching plain. Habakkuk is told to take the vision and write it plainly upon tablets. Imagine this. What if you're driving down the road and you see a sign, you're looking for some place you've not been, you see a sign, but you can't read, the letters are jumbled, or it's, the letters are peeled. You can't, it has to be plain. Otherwise, it's like the clarion call. If you don't hear the signal and know how to interpret, it's the same thing with our other faculties, right? Speech, sight, you have to be able to read it. So what's the vision? I am convinced that our world needs a message that is very, very infrequently heard. And I will tell you that it is not just Christianity whose members are starving. Now, some wouldn't agree with me, and I'm not saying this in any way to be mean or to make fun of, because I believe that Jewish people and Christians, there are some wonderful people in both, but I can tell you that both groups, the people, the congregants, the people on the pew, the Am Haaretz, the people of the land, they're starving to death. I was at a function, that was a Jewish function. And it was during the festival, during the Rosh Hashanah festival. And so there was a psalm that was quoted, Psalm 47, I believe. I'm going to sit right here for a second. Can I get this? And in this psalm, Dave, I'm just going to sit here. Am I being blocked? Is that good? Is that okay? It's a psalm of the sons of Korah. And so somebody in the group said, I thought they were bad guys. Now think about that. It was a surprise to them that we would be on this holy day talking about the sons of Korah. Didn't they die you remember the story? People, I think a lot of times they truly don't know the Bible. And I wanted to, I'm not going to show, I wanted to go, well, there's 11 Psalms of the Son, and people are like, just be quiet, sit down. We don't know. But, you think about
You need to teach people. Here's the thing that I think about. Amos chapter 8, verse 11 and 12 says this. There's a famine in the land. Not a famine of bread and water, like we would think. You'd go, oh man, I'm so hungry. But a different kind of famine. It's of hearing. Now, it doesn't say a famine of hearing the words of God. It says a famine of hearing the word of Jehovah. Now, what that tells me is that there is a sustenance that comes only from the word, right? Only from the word can you get this. Now, Christianity and other religions have taken that word and they've added to it, and they've taken from it. Both. All of Israel, I believe right now, are hungry, and some of them don't even know it. Let me prove it to you. Ezekiel 37. Ezekiel 37 has two parables. One is called the Valley of Dry Bones. And the second is about two sticks. Now, here's something about both of these parables. It's not talking about Israel like the lost tribes and the house of Judah is okay in all this. It does mention both, but notice, Ezekiel is told, he sees in this valley, and it's full of dry bones. Look, the prophet says it, they're very, very dry. And he's asked a question. What's the question? Can these bones live? And he answers it this way. You know. Now, here's something interesting. Something has to, they're scattered. They're not like together even, they're scattered. Something has to happen. So he's told, I'm going to read this. In Ezekiel 37, he's told this. I love Ezekiel 37. It says, verse 1. Let me start there. The hand of Jehovah was upon me, carried me out in the spirit of Jehovah, set me down in the midst of the valley, which was full of bones, caused me to pass by them round about, and behold, there were very many in the open valley, and lo, they were very dry. And he said to me, Son of man, can these bones live? And I answered, O Adonai Jehovah, you know. Again he said to me, prophesy over the bones and say to them. Everybody looking at it? O dry bones, hear the word of Jehovah. Hear the word of Jehovah. You could say anything to these bones. They're dead. They're dry. They're very dry. But he says this, prophesy over the bones and say, hear the word of Jehovah. So I'm not going to make you all like scatter out on the ground because it would make a better picture of it. But so, and I would go, hear the word of Jehovah. Now, it says this. Thus says Adonai Jehovah to these bones, behold, I will cause breath to enter you, or spirit, it's ruach. Breath to enter you, and you shall live, and I will lay sinews upon you and bring upon flesh upon you, cover you with skin, put breath in you, and you shall live, and you shall know that I am Jehovah. So he prophesies, behold, there was a noise, and behold, a rattling, and bones came together, bone to its bone. All right, so everything starts coming together. But when did it happen? So they're not together. They're scattered. But the first thing that happens is when the Spirit comes upon them, what comes before the Spirit? Before the Spirit comes upon them, what has to happen? The word goes forth. Speak over the bones. Hear the word of Jehovah. There's no breath. There's no wind. Hear the word of Jehovah. And what happens is then the Spirit comes. When the Spirit comes, they begin to come together. Now, you starting to think about analogies here? As long as the word is not going forth in clarity, as long as it mixed with other things, I don't think that it's going to bring about this move of the Spirit. I believe that what we are now working on is phase one. Phase one. People are beginning to come together. I don't say this to say that people aren't presently moved by the Spirit. I think we're all where we are because God is guiding us. I'm talking about something a little more major than that. So right now, I think we're in phase one. But what happens, though, is then they're together, but there's no life in them. Now, there's something that I notice a lot in the Torah faith movement. In some ways, it is a dead, boring group of people. In some ways. That doesn't take away the good, the much good that's being done. But I'm saying we ought to be the most joyous people. We just left 7 days of Sukkot, and you're commanded to be joyful. This ought to be the joyfulest group of people you ever met. You know, in the Torah, one of the things that it says is you ought to behave in such a way that, you know what people are going to say? What a wise and understanding people. I want to be that. How many people are coming up to us going, sir, what is your faith? I have got, what are you doing, Ralph? I want to be whatever you are. That's what we ought to be working towards. So on one hand, we have across the states, across the world, we have these groups that are teaching a message that's totally contrary, that the Torah is dead, abrogated, superseded, done away with, you name it, and so forth. But despite all that, we have people who are waking up almost daily. Now, I think this is speeding up. Has anyone been in the Torah faith? How many of you have been studying your Bible for more than a year, more than 5 years, more than 10 years? You know, we could keep going. People have been studying Scripture for a long time. Have you noticed, or is it just me, I doubt it, that things seem to be going faster? People are waking up there, and it may be the social media. I don't know. It's like everything is converging, bringing us to something that I think is quite revolutionary. Preaching Moses every Sabbath. In every city. See, I didn't put that in there because I wanted to save it and tell you this. The thing that hit me was that in St. Francisville, there was a place. There was a place that you could have classes. There was a synagogue that was abandoned. We're going to talk about, we're going to take a break in a few minutes because people are yawning and need to get up and stretch, but I want people to be awake and engaged, because what we have is, what if in every city people began to come together and actually go through and study the Torah and the prophets together? What would this world look like if people were on the same page? Now, most of you know, especially if you have the Jewish calendar, you have the weekly Torah portions. And in this week's Torah portion, Bereshit, before God, when the creation starts, what is it that really gets things going? In the very beginning, it says, and the Spirit moved. In Hebrew, it's morakefet. It's like hovering, fluttering like a bird upon the waters. I like to think of the water as moving. I tell people all the time, you can't see the Spirit flutter. The waters, yeah. That's right. Yeah, it's like my fingers are doing. This is what it means. Now, what happens when this happens to the water? The water moves. See, you can't see the Spirit. Someone once said this. You can see the effect of it. It's just like the wind. Can you see the wind? No, you can't see the wind, but you can see the effect of the wind. See the effect of the wind, like right now, see that tree, it's just moving a little bit. I know there's wind out there. I can tell you that from inside. Can't see it, but I can see the effect of it. Here's the thing. When we live our life in such a way that we are beginning to, now, by the way, King James says preaching Moses. Most other translations says Moses is read every Sabbath in the synagogue. One of the things that that I've struggled with over the years, because we're reaching a brand new group of people. They're waking up. I love the weekly Torah portions, the annual cycle of readings. I really do. Covers a lot of ground, though. Covers a lot of ground. So for quite a few years now, and this is the last thing I'm going to do, they're going to take a break. Quite a few years, I probably have put more study into the 3-year cycle of readings than anything else I've ever studied. It's clearly the most ancient, without a doubt. It's mentioned in the Talmud. And they talk about this ancient cycle of readings that took place in the land of Israel, whereas the annual cycle of reading was developed in Babylon. All right. So when I first read that, I thought, wow, that's pretty cool. Now, what we've always said is, in order to stay in concert with the Jewish congregations around the world, I've done the annual cycle. We did about 8 years of that. 8 years consecutively through. So if people are interested in that, we have archives, lots of archives. But think about this. What if every Sabbath, if we just had a really cool Torah scroll, Ralph, that we could take and actually work through, because it's really like 21 verses a week. You could almost produce a new translation of the Torah in 3.5 years. Now, let me sell you on this. What I intend to do, Jehovah willing, is to every Shabbat, every week, we're going to take a portion of the Torah and we're going to work through this ancient cycle of readings. Now, we know the ancient prophet readings that go with them. All right. So this week, now you go, well, what about this week? Let's do it. It's not as precise like in antiquity. They didn't have you're going to have Simchat Torah here. You're going to do this on the such and such day of Tishri. It was more fluid than that. We know this. We actually know, you've heard it called the 3-year cycle, the triennial cycle of readings. We know that in antiquity, it lasted about 3.5 years. So in 7 years, you have 2 witnesses, basically. You will have gone through the Torah twice in 7 years. I'm going to close with Deuteronomy 31. We'll take a break. Deuteronomy 31 says this. Verse 10, Deuteronomy 31, verse 10. At the end of every 7 years, in the time of the year of release, in the Feast of Booths. We just kind of worked through that, didn't we? It's about the time, right? When all Israel has come to appear before Jehovah your God in the place which he shall choose, you shall read this Torah before all Israel in their hearing. We've done this before. We need to do this next time, I think. Gather the people together, men, women, children, stranger that is within your gates, that they may hear, they may learn, and fear Jehovah your God, to guard to do all the words of this Torah, and that their children, who have not known anything, may hear and learn to fear Jehovah your God as long as you live in the land, whether you go over the Jordan to possess it. Interesting that there's something about hearing the Torah. Even if someone hasn't heard it, if you read the Torah, it becomes part, they take it in, it's internalized, it changes your life. Sherry's told me this. There were times in our journey together that Sherry, you don't mind me, would almost, well, she did leave a couple of times. But one of the things that she said was there was something about hearing the Torah, something that kept bringing me back. Now, there's some tough things in the Torah, really tough things. But as a team, as a group, and we have our experiences and we get together and we talk, I think it's amazing at the things that we discover when we work through this. So when, for instance, like in rabbinic literature, have you ever noticed, if you've read this, sometimes the rabbis will say the world was created in Tishri. And then another rabbi say the world was created in Nisan or Aviv, you know, and you're like, well, why are they? They're totally opposite. It's like 6 months apart. Here's what I think that is. In the ancient world, when they would do this is only my theory, whatever. In the ancient world, they'd work through this 3.5-year cycle. So stick with me. If I begin in the spring and I go 3.5 years, when do I end? In the fall. So if I'm a rabbi at the time and it's the fall and I go, Bereshit bara Elohim et hashamayim v'et, I'm like, oh, the world was created in the fall. Now, 3.5 years later, another rabbi goes, I don't know why he said that. Bereshit bara Elohim. Look, it's the spring. Now, so we just think, wow, they're just totally being contrary. There are no. It's two sides of the same coin. Now, at the end of 7 years, you have the complete package. You'll have worked through. Now, so what I want to do is I want to think about, as a group, what would that look like educationally? Now, we're going to talk about other things after the break, but what would that look like if we brought people in, invite them, hey, this is a Bible study. You don't have to tell them. As I understand it, it's a 7-year program. We're going to go through it twice, because then you'll scare them off, right? So you don't do that. You just go to a weekly Bible study. The fact that it takes 45 weeks to get through Genesis is not that big a deal. What will you learn as you work through those stories? I think something quite incredible. All right.
I have a
Question.
question.
All right.
So if you do that, because the prophets associate the Haftorah.
Yep. Haftorah. Yeah.
You know, they're not the full prophets, and that's what's blessed me with you guys, because you guys are the only ones that I've ever met that really know what the prophets say. So will you have time to teach?
Oh, yeah.
Because that's where there is also so many are
Yeah.
in the Messianic and the Hebrews, and they're coming out, but they're not being taught, nor are they reading the prophets.
Amen. Amen. And so yeah.
How will you tie that into this?
So to answer this before we get to the next question, let me say one of the greatest things that drives me to change something. I don't like change just for change, believe it or not. I do like change when I see an opportunity to move a movement, to grow people, to develop people, to teach, to train, to, you know. So here's what happens. 8 years, I was going crazy. Doesn't mean that I had it all figured out. But 8 years, it became rote. I'm promising you. Now, this is not to ridicule. This is to tell you my personal. So when I went to Israel before the cycle, this last cycle, I said, what can I do? And I felt this pull, not away from the Torah by any stretch, but I wanted to share more. So you realize that when you do the annual cycle of readings, for instance, if you depend on that to get your yearly dose of the prophets, you're not going to get much, right? 54 readings in the Torah. The prophets, you have the same. Most of those, especially through the book of Deuteronomy, are all from what book? Isaiah. Okay, well, that's great. When do you ever learn Habakkuk, Nahum, Micah, Amos, you know? So what I want to do is I want to take people, for instance, Genesis 1:1 through verse 2:3. That's reading number 1. The prophet reading that goes with that is Isaiah 65. And I will create a new heavens and a new earth. So think about it. We're going to talk about creation, and we're going to say not just the historical, this ancient, we're talking about a new creation. What does that look like? Do the prophets paint a picture of that? Absolutely. You bring the prophets in through that, and it becomes this great teaching. One other example. The next Torah reading is chapter 2:4 through 3:27. When you start getting in the Garden of Eden, guess what the prophet reading is? Ezekiel chapter 28. And it's interesting. It says, you were in Eden, the anointed cherub that covers. You think that'd be a good discussion? Absolutely. So to your point, Yes, and here's the other beautiful thing about me not working at X, right? Is because I don't know what I'm going to do like every night of the week. We've got all the, not just Shabbat, but we might say, James and I have talked about it, where I could go, this is Brother Ross coming to you today. We're working through the book of Habakkuk, and I can just go with it. Verse by verse. I mean, I have so much time now that the place is painted. And so we're going to talk about suggestions. What else could we do? Ross Nichols radio show with this great internet we have here. Yeah. I'm sorry, James, you go.
I wanted to ask about that Bible I sent you.
Yeah.
Because I was going to tell Lori the story, so I want to get it straight. So, as I recall, I bought that because I thought it was a cool Bible, but I didn't know you were doing that day, right?
No.
That's the point.
That's the point. You.
I want to be sure because
Yeah.
sometimes, as you said, we exaggerate.
Yeah.
So
No, this is not embellished.
I
This
wrote
is.
that independently. I chose the scripture, wrote it in Hebrew.
Yeah, I had to
Because I thought
decipher it.
Ross will really like this Bible, so I didn't know the date. I didn't know what you were doing.
Yep.
I mean, in general, I know. what
Yeah.
you're doing, but not.
Yeah.
Ross, I have to also, that's Patty's birthday.
Yeah.
January 20. That was probably what did it.
No.
So just so people understand.
That's important because the scripture was on my mind that if you set your heart to understand it, he actually says from the day, and the Hebrew word is literally like you set. Here's my heart. I'm setting it right here. Like, don't move till I understand.
Yeah. 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 So the beauty of when we talk about the clarion call, we talk about I'm not good at fitting a mold, right? So I'm not really a joiner. You believe that? I'm not. Dave said I turned into a hippie. I got fired and just went to. So.
That guy that used to sit in the chair to smoke a cigar and teach. Remember?
Oh, Eugene, Dr. Gene.
Gene, yeah. You're getting close with the sandals. And
Mm-hmm.
so Dave, if you could get a cigar and then he'd go and dial his number and send some money. It's not enough yet.
I'm not talking again until I get money. No, I'm not going to do that. So, but the thing is, though, think about Gene Scott. That's it. That's it. You got it.
And he believed in the lost tribe.
Yeah. So as we think about what can we do, what can we do to reach the world? What can we do? So I said I'm not one that fits easily into a mold. I'm not out to say we're doing this because someone else is wrong. That's not the way I do. You know me, I don't do that. But here's the thing. I'm not as concerned with following a regimen that other people have. It's helpful to many. Great. Yeah.
I understand what Sharon is saying. Sharon. And that, okay, so you're reading Genesis and the Haftarah is Isaiah 65. And you read it, oh, that's nice. It's a warm, fuzzy connection. But you're not really saying, what is the context of Isaiah? Who's the king? Who's he talking to? What you don't see the big picture of Isaiah.
Yeah.
And I think that studying the book, and all of its historical context and everything from beginning to end, in one thing would be helpful.
Because that's where you get the plan.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
Yep.
And so many don't even understand that.
So just so at the last UIW meeting, James taught a class on Isaiah 43:66. So the first meeting, the first time we met in May at Betty's house of 95, we spent the night at Betty's and we worked through Isaiah 43:66, I'm talking work through. And you have to imagine, I thought this guy is just like me, but he's older. I mean, no, I had never met anybody that was, and he thought the same thing, I think. So he's just like, you were like, oh, so, but we hit it off because we love the Bible. Here's the thing. Now, the fun part is I'm meeting other people who are just like, I'm like, you're just like me. You like reading the Bible all the time. So what we have to do is I want to create this place where people, now here's the trick. You have to be willing to go here with me in some ways. The first night that I met Shannon, I wanted to spend time talking to Shannon, and a guy walks in off the street. Great guy, I know him, but he was loaded with questions. I didn't even get to talk to you. I felt horrible about it, but she's all right with it because this person had questions. So look, I'm going to have to come up with some way. I might have to put a sign that says, on this night,
Consultation hours.
come on in and fire anything you have question-wise. We'll talk.
Radio show. That's what
Yeah.
it should be. Come on.
Yeah. Question and answer. But see, other nights you need to be saying, look, we're going to talk about the prophet Hosea tonight. That's what we're going to talk questions, Hosea, but don't ask me about Paul right now. We'll do that on Wednesday nights. Come drink wine and we'll do that, or whatever. Wine and Paul, or something like that. Yeah. So I want the rest of the evening, even though it's somewhat early. So it's 4 p.m. here. I know people are tired. We've been sitting a while. Let's take a break. Let's fellowship. And then let's say we'll announce it with a shofar or something, but probably 30 minutes or an hour from now, let's just kind of come back together. Real informal. We can even make chairs in a circle. We can do some push-ups or whatever, and then we'll get into this. But
Ross, I wanna
yep,
just
go ahead.
say
Go ahead.
something.
We'll just tell them we'll log back on this evening. Okay. So what we're going to do is we're not excluding anyone. I know that's what it looks like. But what we're going to do is we're going to take a break. And unless you just want to watch people walk around, which you've done all day, it just wouldn't be quite as fun. So we're going to take a break. If we are going to go live later this evening, we will post that, I promise you. But otherwise, we're just going to take it off because I keep looking up and, I might be scratching my nose or something. And so, but have a beautiful, to all our friends out there, have a beautiful day. Shabbat Shalom and Shavua Tov. Yeah, come see us anytime. We're open quite a few days a week now, right? All right. So thank you.